live streaming?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Out of the Woods Growing Income from Your Forest. My name is Lindsay Kazarek, and I will be your host this evening. I am joined by Casey Weathers, who will be helping us out on tech. Our guest speaker this evening is Vanta Koda. Vanta is the East Area Outreach and Communications Specialist with the West Virginia Association of Conservation Districts. Vanta is a graduate from the University of Wyoming with majors in Environment and Natural Resources and Communications with a focus in visual media. Located in the Eastern Panhandle, Vanta provides communication and outreach for conservation districts located in the eastern half of West Virginia. Without further ado, I'll turn things over to Vanta for his presentation this evening.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again for tuning in. My name is Vanta Koda, and I'm with the West Virginia Association of Conservation Districts. Uh, I'm here to talk about my organization and what we do in West Virginia. So, how we got started. So the West Virginia Association of Conservation Districts, or the WVACD, is a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting the importance of conservation in West Virginia. The WVACD enables conservation districts across the state to come together, share information, collaborate on projects, and present a unified voice to the public, other agencies, and the legislature of West Virginia. So in 1963, the WVACD was founded in Braxton County, West Virginia by conservation districts in the state of West Virginia. Elk Conservation District provided the first office space in the main office of WVACD, which is still located in Braxton County today in Sutton, West Virginia. So the WVACD was formed 17 years after the formation of the National Association of Conservation Districts, which was in 1946. The WVACD is a direct affiliate with the National Association of Conservation Districts. And if you guys don't know the National Association of Conservation Districts, um, they represent nearly 3,000 districts in all of 50 states, including the districts of Columbia and the U.S. territories of the American Samoa, the Federated States of Micronesia, Guam, Northern Mariana Islands, Palau, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. So to give you some background on what conservation districts are and what I'm essentially talking about, I just want to provide listeners with a brief kind of history about conservation districts. So following the Dust Bowl in the 1930s, FDR recommended the Standard State Soil Conservation Districts Act to be signed into law by all state governments. So this act gave states a step-by-step guide to creating conservation districts and listing their powers and responsibilities. Conservation districts were made to collaborate directly with landowners as well as state and federal organizations to conserve and promote healthy soils, water, forests, and wildlife. So districts are referred to by various names such as soil and water conservation districts, resource conservation districts, natural resource districts, or land conservation committees. But as you can find in the state of West Virginia, they're simply just put as conservation districts. It's really cool. Time and time again, I meet people who remember the days when they were called soil and water conservation districts. But since the conservation districts have been growing continuously since when they were made, a lot of stuff comes under conservation now. So they all share a common mission to coordinate assistance from all available sources, public and private, local, state, and federal, and even universities, in order to develop locally driven solutions to natural resource concerns. So the first conservation district, which is Brown Creek Soil and Water Conservation District, or SWC, was established in North Carolina in the Wadesboro area on August 4th, 1937. 8 years after that, Arkansas became the first state to enact legislation regarding conservation districts, and by July 1st, 1945, all 48 contiguous states had passed direct enabling acts to make conservation districts. Going back to West Virginia, the first conservation district organized in West Virginia was the West Fork Conservation District on February 2nd, 1940. Following that next day, the Eastern Panhandle and Greenbrier Valley Conservation Districts followed, and today there are now 14 conservation districts throughout the state of West Virginia. As saying that there are 14 conservation districts, all are overseen by nonpartisan conservation district supervisors who are elected during the May primary elections. So these are governments. This is local government. So currently there are 114 supervisors serving across these 14 districts. Each district encompasses 1 to 6 counties. Typically, each county elects 2 supervisors, but counties with populations exceeding 100,000 may elect an additional supervisor. So, to give you guys an example, Kanawha County, which is the county where the capital of West Virginia is, Charleston, they have 5 supervisors, even though that's one county and that's one conservation district. Um, Panning over to the Eastern Panhandle, since there's been an influx in people moving out from the DC metro area, um, Berkeley County had to have 3 supervisors, and just recently, our Monongahela Conservation District, which is in the region of Morgantown, they just got a conservation district supervisor, so they now have 3. So conservation districts have a local presence in every county across the state, promoting the best farming practices through various media workshops and collaborations with different programs and entities. So these districts are central to conservation partnership in West Virginia, assisting landowners in developing comprehensive conservation plans that incorporate a range of best management practices. Um, just to throw in a little term, I might say best management practices a lot. So I will also say BMP um, is an acronym I will be using. So these practices aim to prevent soil erosion, manage animal waste, control runoff from fields, and protect water quality. Initially, conservation efforts primarily targeted traditional farmers. However, um, in recent years on development activities in urban and suburban areas, including urban agriculture and different kind of ways of different way, I would say non-traditional agriculture, have can also contribute to erosion and sedimentation issues in our waterways, not just the ones related to a traditional ag um, business. So the WVACD has, again, over a proven track record of 70 years plus of addressing the needs of communities that they serve, helping farmers build more resilient operations. Within that WVACD fold, the districts collaborate to share information and provide a unified voice, as I stated previously, to the public, other agencies, and the legislature by prompting and implementing best management practices within the districts. We can reduce the needs for costly remedial actions. And a lot of our supervisors are work cooperators. So it really does help that our supervisors are having um, their expertise when dealing with these best management practices and kind of broadcasting it out within their conservation districts. Um, so that it's a very big help. So farmers and ranchers in West Virginia view conservation districts as trusted sources for assistance in conservation matters. Again, these supervisors were once cooperators um, that were under conservation districts. So with 84% of West Virginia land owned privately, it's really crucial to establish a strong reputation based on trust and cooperation to achieve meaningful environmental impact. So the districts help deliver federal and state programs at the local level, serving as a one-stop shop for farmers, landowners, and homeowners seeking a variety of financial and technical assistance services to meet both production and environmental stewardship needs. The West Virginia Associate, the WVACD offers education and workshops and voluntary incentive-based solutions as well, with promoting environmental issues. So moving on to that, educating our youth about the importance of conservation is absolutely vital, especially in the state of West Virginia. and safeguarding that agricultural heritage that we find throughout West Virginia. The district sponsors various programs aimed at instilling best management practices and fostering a love for agriculture and future generations. So looking ahead, WVC, WVACD is a partner of West Virginia's annual Envirothon. This is coming up here in April, which I'm really excited to cover. I'm on the PR committee for Envirothon, so I'm really excited to watch these teams go down to Ripley, West Virginia. So it's a problem-solving competition for high school students in the United States, Canada, China, and Singapore, focusing on natural resource management and environmental science through the study and outdoor field experience. We also have a annual grassland evaluation contest, which enhances participants' knowledge of grassland management. This is headed by the West Virginia Grassland Steering Committee, comprising of farmers, educators, scientists, conservationists, and government agencies with a common interest in daily forages for traditional ag. So with partnerships from the WVACD and various agencies and organizations, the districts offer training workshops throughout the year as well as conferences, which I will get to later in my slides about the conferences that we hold. So I know that's a lot that I threw at you, but to really make it clear and to divide what is WVACD from conservation districts, I will go through and kind of decipher that for viewers. So the WVACD acts as a collective voice for the conservation districts, representing their interests to the public, other agencies, and legislature. And it facilitates in collaboration among local conservation districts, allowing them to share knowledge and best practices. Um, on WVACD supports conservation districts through various grants and scholarships and youth programs. So we also broadcast that our throughout our conservation districts and throughout the state, wherever we can get it. Um, Moving to the conservation districts and what they are. Each of the 14 conservation districts, they're a local unit of government. So this is local government established by the people and governed by elected supervisors. Their mission is to provide local leadership in the development and conservation of soil, water, and related resources. And conservation districts develop and implement local conservation programs based on established resource priorities with support from West Virginia, different West Virginia associations, which we'll get to here soon. So after discussing this, I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. So after discussing the differences between conservation districts and WVACD, we're gonna look at this on a broader term and other agencies that we also work with. So the WV, so one, so we have our WVACD district collective voice, 14 conservation districts up here at the top. Now I want to talk about some of the state and federal agencies that we also work with. So the one agency that we most work with, it's Department of Agriculture, but they have a sub agency called the West Virginia Conservation Agency, which is the WVCA. So we collaborate with these organizations, with this organization a lot to ensure that all conservation and agricultural programs implemented by cooperators are approved. So they have to come to us for the best management practices that the cooperators are trying to implement, and that has to be approved by the board at usually a monthly board meeting. So to go over what the WVCA had, what programs they do, just a handful of programs. I'll talk about that now. So they have BMP, best management practice, agricultural practices, tree plantings, stream restorations, and grain infrastructure. And these practices vary from different district to district. So in one district, you might have let's say native tree planting. In the other district, it might be totally, they might not have that, and they might have totally something different. Um, and it's unique to every conservation district across the state. So going over their kind of key programs and broad-based programs, I will talk about the agricultural enhancements practice that they offer to um, cooperators, which is this program allows um, technical and financial assistance as an incentive to implement best management practices for conservation. Its main objectives are to reduce nutrients and sediment runoff into state waters while prompting profitability and sustainability. And then we have the Sea Bay, which is Chesapeake Bay Action Plan. So the Sea Bay, this only really focuses to more so the eastern half of West Virginia, mainly regions like the Eastern Branch and the Eastern Panhandle, because these are watersheds that go directly into the Chesapeake Bay. This initiative focuses on protecting and restoring the watershed of the bay, addressing agriculture, urban slash stormwater and forestry issues that to reduce pollution and improve water quality to the bay. So another program that they have is the urban stormwater management. So the WVCA tackles the effects of urban development and stormwater runoff on water quality, working to minimize pollution for impervious surfaces like asphalt, any forms of pavement, anything that kind of slips off, basically. Section 319 programs. These programs are related to agriculture, construction, and urban stormwater management and focus on reducing non-point source pollution. The Emergency Watershed Protection, or EWP. This program is activated during a state of federal emergency declaration in response to some disasters such as extreme flooding. The WVCA collaborates with local, state, and federal agencies to assess flood-related damages and to remove debris and blockages from streams. So additionally, the WVCA is an owner slash sponsor of hundreds of watershed dams in West Virginia, collaborating with district boards to analyze and maintain their structural integrity and monitor them throughout the course of time. These dams were placed by AmeriCorps not Ameri Army Corps of Engineers and have to be monitored by the state of West Virginia. Community outreach is crucial for raising awareness about these initiatives, and the WVACD works in collaboration with PR and communications representatives from state and with the state and federal agencies to assist these districts when we're talking about these practices. So turning to our federal partners, so we have the National Resource Conservation Service, which is a USDA sub agency, but this is the service. This organization is who our districts work with most. So they operate without needing a board approval for funding as it is a federal agency. However, they share reports and information with conservation districts regarding programs that cooperators are involved in across the districts. And here are a few key programs offered from NRCS in West Virginia. So they have the Environmental Quality Incentive Program, or EQIP, which is kind of like the bread and butter of the NRCS. And they collaborate with producers to create a conservation plan that outlines practices and activities designed to address on-farm resource issues. These initiatives aim to improve water and air quality and enhance soil health and improve wildlife habitats, as well as benefiting agricultural operations. And then moving on to Conservation Stewardship Program, CSP. The NRCS assists producers in developing a conservation plan that builds upon existing efforts by incorporating new practices or activities based on the management objectives of their operations. These practices help enhance the benefits of cleaner water and air, healthier soil, and improve wildlife habitats alongside with advancements in agricultural efficiency. And then down at the bottom here, there wasn't really any room where I could stick. There's so many more agencies that we work with and universities. So we have WVU Extension. We have partnered with them on countless things for community outreach, and as well as DEP has had kind of programs that have gone through our conservation districts. And so there's a lot of other moving parts besides these top four in the squares. But it's really nice to all work together on these programs and projects. And I just want to give a quick note. So conservation practices are not mandatory in the state of West Virginia, unlike a majority of states in the United States. So it puts a little bit more emphasis that we have different cogs in the machine, as you will, kind of putting out the word about conservation, and saying, hey, to our cooperators, this works. And the WVACD has been trying to kind of enhance that and trying to see this stuff works and it's sustainable. So it we really need to capitalize on caring for conservation in the state of West Virginia. And with these groups, we do a lot with that. So just to go back a little bit, so the WVCA, they also work with the NRCS as well. State and federal entities tend to do that. So conservation districts work with the natural resource. They serve farmers, landowners, improving and protecting soil, water, and other natural resources. Within these programs tend to overlap. So a lot of these programs you'll see um, NRCS and the WVCA working kind of in tandem with kind of projects. So again, final thing about elected supervisors. Elected supervisors and conservation district supervisors are elected by the voters, and they serve on the local board and help develop and implement programs to protect and conserve soil, water, woodland, and other renewable natural resources. And they have terms as well. So they can run back for office if their term expires, and kind of um, um, have that kind of changing cycle of district supervisors going forward. So moving on to the next slide. So going back to what WVACD offers. So essentially, we have grants that I'll talk about it in a further slides that uplift communities in conservation work. A lot of our recent grants that we've been doing is really focused on historically underserved communities, and I'll get that to that in my grant slide. But that is something that is really what we are looking at in terms of agricultural conservation. So for me, I'm a communication outreach specialist, so I do outreach and support for districts and for the WVACD. So I do media, um, I do media. I help out with printable physical stuff. I'm also a photographer, so I help with a lot of the stuff. I help with directories. There's a lot of stuff that me and my counterpart do, collaborating with different organizations is main focus right now, which is something I will save towards the end. And then back to the Envirothon and conservation. So really looking forward to that coming up in April, as well as our quarterly meeting. And if any of our viewers are interested for kind of learning more about the WVACD and as well as collaborating with. We are always open to having speakers at our quarterly meetings. I mean, last quarterly meeting that we had in October, we had the West Virginia Watershed Network. One of their executive director talked to our conservation district supervisors, and it I think more so than ever, it's really time to make those puzzle pieces click and really stick together. Um, but yeah, moving on to my next slide. So to go over the grants that we administer and participate in. Um, so we have, I'm going to skip the community outreach grants and development grants first and kind of talk about these, the NACD Technical Assistance Grant, the Smart Farms Grant, and the GLCI grant. So the NACD Technical Assistance Grant, this grant provides funding for conservation operations technical assistance, which is also stands for CODA, abbreviated, environmental quality program, EQIP. Which the WVACD helps NRCS with that, um, with community outreach and kind of in that sphere. Conservation Stewardship Program, CSP, um, working with that. And funny thing, we had our hard launch of our Instagram. I think it was it was starting the year, January 1st, and we had a bunch of stuff ready for conservation uh, stewardship program, and we're just kind of waiting for NRCS to give us the call. But unfortunately, those funds are fairly frozen right now, and so we're just kind of in this waiting game for a little bit. So we're really hoping that these funds come back, and from there we can really hone on CSP for that moment. This is also the grant where me and my counterpart who works in the western half of the state, we are funded by. So all this technical assistance, equip, we work with that stuff a lot. So um, moving over to our um, GLCI Grazing Lands Conference Conservation Initiative. So it's a virtual pasture walk grant that we're really excited for it. It's the main outcome of this grant is to produce educational videos on the topics of soil health, grazing techniques, forages, weed control, and nutrient management, both for cooperators and technical staff for basically learning. So this grant gives about $3,000 to conservation districts in which they can put on a field day as well. And with this grant, which is really cool, these conservation districts can get together and put a huge um, workshop together for this stuff. And with the droughts that recently happened, we really want to kind of instill a sense of resilience. If you don't know, if you're tuning outside of West Virginia, this past year it's been really rough. We got as I think we got in some areas we got down to the D4 drought. And we're still in drought in the Eastern Panhandle. We're at D1 drought. And in the Eastern branch, it's at D0, I believe, right now. But hoping that a lot of rain comes through and kind of gets us out of this. But um, so that's more about our Grazing Lands Conservation Initiative. Going over to our Smart Farms grant, it's a NASDA grant. So this grant is through NASA and it's available to non-Chesapeake Bay draining counties. And it's to establish native warm season grasses into pastures and maintain long landing sites. This is more of a broad base, how I read this, more of a broad base BMP for a larger region of the state. So looking at it, there might be native tree plantings within a with the focus of being in historically underserved producers. And again, historically underserved producers are classified by the USDA as limited resource farmer or rancher as defined in USDA regulation. And NRCS has a map of West Virginia that actually has these regions and areas where there's historically underserved producers. So that's where we are targeting a lot of these grants. Um, so circling back to our community outreach grant and our community development grants, it's kind of a heartache a little bit right now when it comes to these grants because these are grants that are on federal funds and they are federally frozen. So they're federally frozen. They were from um, the Inflation Reduction Act. They were frozen, and so we're kind of waiting to hear back if those funds will be unfrozen. So our community outreach grants, they were given to our districts, and districts can get two community outreach grants. Some applied for one, but it's they were conservation districts were awarded up to $8,000 for different projects that they had. Just to shout out one of our conservation districts, the Monongahela Conservation District. Their community outreach grant entailed of um, bringing back chestnuts in the form of the Dustin chestnut, which is a hybrid between an American chestnut and a um, Chinese chestnut. To it's blight resistant. So, and putting more emphasis of like what these trees used to be in the state of West Virginia and Appalachia um, as a whole. Um, so there, but unfortunately, we're kind of waiting on that stuff, and they have their trees on hold right now for that. So our community development grant, that was a $10,000 grant focusing on um, again historically underserved communities. A lot of we got more applicants than we would have expected. There's five of these grants, so um, five $10,000 grants, and a lot of people, a lot of conservation districts, they weren't subjugated to just conservation districts applying for these. It was also different organizations that were planning on applying for this grant and um, and using these funds. And a lot of some of these, just to give you a little bit of insight, some of these community development grants applications that I have looked over um, target food deserts in West Virginia, and we're just kind of waiting at this point to see when these will free up because definitely in the regions that they will impact, it'll be really significant um, in turning the tides around in that food desert. Um, Going forward, again, getting back to my counterpart's role. Um, so So going through a lot of these photos are from the WVACD. I took a lot of these photos. So these were from different events. So from the top left, that was a field day in Elk Conservation District where Braxton County Middle School got let out, and basically Department of Forestry came out as I believe DNR came out. A bunch of different organizations came to talk with these kids and just kind of talk to them about our environment and conservation and preservation too. So, and different agricultural practices. It's a really nice time. And then in the middle, this is a picture from my counterpart. This is in Guyan Conservation District. So that is the Southwest in West Virginia. So I really do love what the Southern West Virginia and Southern conservation districts do. It's for these programs and learning events and workshops. It's like they put on a huge event. There's food. I mean, everybody in the community comes out, and it's really amazing because you get people who are traditionally farming, non-traditional farmers, and then people that are looking to get their foot in the door and learning about different practices. So it's really awesome. Um, on the right, over top right, so this was a kind of a biochar demonstration in Tucker County. That's Jim Nestor of Tigers Valley Conservation District. He's a character, really nice guy. And that was a fun time learning about biochar, different kind of remediations of different different non-traditional ways to remediate soil. So, and then down left, we have farm tours. This is in Potomac Valley. This is actually off of the traditional farm tour winner, conservation tour winner of the year in Potomac Valley. So that we have stuff like that. I get brought along too, and it's just really awesome. These two, these bottom two, in the left, the middle and the left are um, on farm tours. So that's where conservation districts rank what farm has the best conservation practices, and we get to tour around and see these farms and kind of like give them award. Um, just recently at our Conservation Ag Day in the capital, Charleston, um, our non-traditional farm tour winner, Powder Keg, got to meet with senators, and they got an award for being the non-traditional farm of the year. Down low right is our WVACD president, John Pitzenbarger. Um, so um, it was last July that he was elected. So we're coming up on our July quarterly meeting in 1 year of John being our president. So really stoked about that. All right. So getting to the point of why most of you guys are tuning in is how can we support syrup producers? So, looking at it, we have had numerous talks about syrup production in our conservation districts, within our board meetings, and no one really like. I've been out with maple syrup producers in West Virginia, and it really is untapped potential of just going and pairing this with conservation districts and making field days about syrup producers in West Virginia. Um, Up until recently, I didn't know West Virginia was a really into the experimental side of syrup producing, but I, I mean it's been really eye-opening, and it's something that me and my counterpart really want to work on this coming year, especially for um, in West Virginia we have Appalachian Maple Days, which is February 15th and March 15th. We really want to show our support within our conservation districts and kind of like highlight our maple syrup producers in our conservation districts and do community outreach and media, as well as partnering with different organizations. One of those being Future Generations University for any support and media that we can try to make for um, syrup research, anything that we can really do to help. We're totally game for. So we're the Smart Farms grant, I believe. So as I talked about it being kind of a looking like a broad BMP, um, you, there might be Q&A questions about this, but I can also try to reach out for more information about the Smart Farms grant. This is a very recent grant, but it almost looks like a new BMP. There's a wider BMP, but it's something that I will have to look on. But our BMP cost share programs within conservation districts is a good way for kind of producers to think about what's um, if we can plant more of a sugar bush for red maples, silver maples, black walnuts, sycamores. And again, our districts, it varies from district to district, but they have tree sales as well. So that might be another avenue that we can take to support syrup producers. Is a lot of these trees that are being sold are red maples, silver maples, black walnuts and sycamores. So if we can really hone in our districts to focus to have more of those trees, we can try to um, kind of see if we can if maple producers will um, use that and pick them up and kind of plant these native trees to the Appalachian region around the conservation districts. So that's one thought I've had when looking on how we can support our syrup producers. Again, our me and my counterpart, we would definitely love to support any syrup producers that we find in our conservation districts, and use it for any outreach in media. So um, I'm gonna have my email at the end of this. So if anybody's viewing this, I would like to talk further if you are a maple syrup producer, syrup producer. So, so moving on, this is we're kind of ending my presentation here in a little bit, but here's some important links. So our it's really nice. The WVCA website has where are a map of all of our conservation districts and where they are located. And I can take you guys there real quick, and then we can come back to the slideshow. Um, well, I do not think it wants me to do that, but I will, if anybody is interested in where our office locations are, you can email me on my email and I can give you the link for this map of our conservation districts and where they're located. It's really nice that the WVCA has this for not only for our where our supervisors and where our conservation districts are, but where our cooperators can really focus where am I at? What conservation district am I a part of and how and what are their practices? So it's a really good directory for that. And then um, on on the WVACD website, we have a calendar of all the events that are going on, district board meetings that are happening. So in time and place for these district board meetings. So it's a really good if you want to sit in on one of these board meetings, you can, and you just have to look it up. So not look it up, but it's right there on a calendar, which is nice. So for our Facebook, so we have the West Virginia Association of Conservation Districts, plain and simple on our Facebook and on Instagram, our new Instagram, it's underscore WVACD underscore. Our Facebook, I'm really proud to say that before me and my counterpart Julie started, I think we had numbers, it was like it was 800. Now we're getting up to, think we're nearing, might be 1500 right now. So that's really awesome. And then of course, with Instagram, it's really hard to start an Instagram and for an organization, it's just building that momentum and so we're just kind of in our early stages producing media. But with that, we produce different forms of like events that are happening through our conservation districts. So if you're interested, definitely check out our Facebook and Instagram. And again, for we have a WVACD newsletter, and I can be able to put you guys on that. It's a quarterly newsletter. Again, sorry for the horrendous long email, but that is my email for our quarterly newsletter. And any people that want to have our newsletter, I will put you guys on the mailing order for sure. So, but another thing is for getting to know our conservation districts. One thing is to get involved is local work group meetings are coming up. And what local work group meetings are is where conservation district supervisors and the any concerned citizen can it's basically a town hall. Any concerned citizen could walk in and voice their concerns, and what will happen is the districts generate their conservation plan, annual plan of the year, and try to go off of what their constituents want and what they're looking for, as well as conservation practices that have really peaked within their districts. And again, just to reiterate, we really welcome partners at quarterly and area meetings and always are looking for speakers. Um, with any organizations that are in West Virginia, um, that it would be great to have more speakers, especially with any maple producers, maple organizations that is, I think, come to one of our meetings and really telling telling our supervisors, hey, you need to look into this, would be great because I'm already on board with it. Um, and my counterpart's already on board with it. We're really trying to um make that connection and reach out to maple producers. Funny thing, our capital conservation district actually did a workshop on um for maple production, but it was more so like a homesteading. So they had the buckets and the spiles, but we also want to see larger productions like of syruping as well, and how people got into that, and looking at the sugar bush side of things, the experimental side of things. I think that would be fantastic. We're really game for for anything. So again, um, so here's my contacts, work phone, um, outreach, anything that would be fantastic. So there's that. I I had to I want to talk. I'm holding up a little bit of stuff for the end. So I wanted to talk about a little bit about the federal funding freezes that have been happening. So it's been um, with our community development grants and our community outreach grants. We're still waiting on that. A lot of funding. Um, it's been kind of spooky not knowing what's been happening, especially within the association and conservation district, state and federal level. Um, so it's really if anybody's watching and has any ideas on like different ideas of grants or USDA funding that we might not know of, that would be fantastic. I mean, we we're really an open book on trying to learn more things that we can um, talk about and communicate with. So that's all I really had on that. How am I doing on time, Lindsay?
You are doing great. You have about 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Um, so we are able to open this up for questions. I know that we have one here in the chat. Um, uh, DeHanza wanted to know if this information is specific to only West Virginia.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Some
Um,
WA-based foundation. I'm looking at okay. Awesome. Thank you for that, DeHanza. Any questions?
And so if a maple producer or a landowner wanted to initiate or engage with their local conservation district, what would that process look like, Vanta? Can you walk us through what that should look like?
Yes, of course. So with every conservation district, they have a monthly board meeting, and so they can come in as a citizen and sit on these are public meetings, so anybody can attend these meetings. And it's really, I mean, you just would have to contact the administrative specialists of that office, that conservation district office, and kind of just put yourself on the agenda for public comment, and they would hear you. So that is, I think, the best way to do that. Also, there's all you can also email the conservation district supervisors, but most certainly it's best to show up to a monthly board meeting to really make yourself known to all supervisors of that conservation district.
Perfect, thank you. Would you be able to put the link in the chat here for everyone to the locations that you weren't able to pull up in the presentation? I think that might be helpful
Of
for
course.
everyone. Thank you so much. And while he is working on that, please feel free to ask any questions that you may have or to add any additional comments to either the chat or the Q&A box. We have a few minutes left here this evening for you to go ahead and do so. And while folks are thinking of any last minute questions, I will remind everyone that our next Out of the Woods session will be next month, April 17th. Our speakers will be Luke Tayloride and Sarah Collins Simmons. They will be discussing our sycamore research that we've been doing here at the university. So we will be excited to hear what's been happening with the sycamore, and we may have an additional producer joining us as well, but that has yet to be confirmed. So stay tuned for updates on that, but that will be at 7 p.m. on Thursday, April 17th. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Vanta, for getting those links there in the chat. I don't think that we have any other additional questions coming in. So I'm going to go ahead and thank everyone for joining us this evening. Oh, wait, we have one here from Paul. So Paul says, maybe I missed it, but what are some specific examples of assistance or technical advice available to the sugar maple community? Great
Gotcha.
question, Paul.
So that will be probably, I'll probably have to come back to you on that one for technical assistance. I will have to reach out to either a WVCA or NRCS correspondent that I have and get back to you on that. If you need my email, we can keep in contact and I can get you a better answer on that. That would be fantastic. Sorry if I can't answer it right off the cusp, but I'd love to answer your question with um, a better answer. So, and then I will put my email in the chat if that works as well. Um,
Yes, yes, please do. And if you could, it was Julie, right? That's the western side of the state.
yes.
If you could please put both email addresses in there, that would be helpful because we have viewers from both the eastern and western sides of the state. So we just want to make sure that everyone has the correct contact information.
Sounds good. Here, I'll put that in the chat.
Perfect.
Sorry for the background noise. My dog is actually playing. She's been quiet this whole time, but
That is a-okay.
then actually.
Um, but I have one other question that I just thought of. Is there any veteran specific um, resources or assistance or programming that the conservation um, districts are assisting with or that they make available?
Um, Not through the conservation districts, but there is a program through WVDA, West Virginia Department of Ag. I could also, I, I know the contact for that, but I will have to go through um, my contacts to see if that was the right person for that. But I know there's a veterans kind of program for within the Department of Ag for West Virginia. So I will get back to you on that one as well. Um,
Yes, we work with the Veterans and Heroes to Agriculture
okay,
program.
that's the organization. Yes.
Perfect. Wasn't sure if there was anything like that or similar to that within the conservation side of things.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, and thank you, Casey. For those of you that are interested, if you are looking for those veteran resources in the agriculture sector here in West Virginia, Eric Stamper with the WBDA, the Department of Agriculture, is your point of contact, and Casey has put his contact information in the chat. So please feel free to access all of this information here in the chat at your leisure. Oh, hi, Bobby. Thanks for joining us. Okay. Um, Again, we'll just do one last call for any other questions or comments. Again, thank you so much for being here with us this evening. Vanta, thank you so much. I know I definitely learned a lot about our conservation districts and how they work. I hope that everyone here also learned as well, and we can figure out more ways for all of us to work together and protect the resources that we have here in West Virginia. Without uh, further ado, we won't keep anyone any longer this evening. We thank you for being here and we hope to see everyone again next month. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you all again for tuning in.